Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm thrilled to be joined by two powerhouse collaborators with decades of experience in music and theater, Joel Higgins and Marty Silvestri. From hit TV themes to original musicals, Joel and Marty have built a career full of memorable songs and lasting creative chemistry. Their latest project, The Beat of a Wandering Heart, is about to premiere in New York, and it captures everything they love about storytelling through music. We talk about the evolution of their partnership, what it's like hearing new voices interpret their songs, and how this new show ties together a lifetime of creativity. You should know that you have 5 chances to go see the show live in New York starting on November 11th through Saturday, November 15th. We'll put the link in the description, so if you're in the New York area, buy your tickets and get over there.
This is Marty, by the way, waiting for Joel, I guess.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you wanting to know a little bit about what the heck's going on, which is fun.
I had just watched a video of you singing "Cover Me" on YouTube. That's lovely. It's a beautiful song.
with my wife, right? Was that during? I think it was during COVID, maybe.
That might be back during COVID, and it had that look. But yes, you're aware she sings beautifully.
Yeah, I never thought she's the one that got me singing with her. I was just a composer in the background, you know. So when we started, Peter still, well, do this song and do this. I go, you know, and now it always amazes me because I'm not a singer. I'm a composer singer. You know what that's like. And people go, oh, I love when you two sing together. I go, okay, if you're buying it, I'm okay with it.
Right. Don't argue, just to...
Yeah, I mean, you know, and then it's funny because I tease her. We appear and people come up and go, you should let him sing more. And I say, honey, you know, I think I got to get a salary check here. I'm getting demands for my vocal prowess, you know. Anyway, yeah, that's one of the songs Mark's using in this. He went through a lot of stuff. Well, we'll get into the interview, but there's still a lot out there that he hasn't used, but he's trying to put it together in a sort of thematic way for himself. And so he's chosen the songs a little bit according to that. But he gets a lot of good things in. Cover Me is one of them. I like Cover Me. That was a song we wrote for an artist down in Nashville a few years ago.
There I am. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for making time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem at all.
Marty and I were talking a moment ago about years of collaboration, songs written for various projects and everything. That I'm always interested in how the through line is selected for a review show like this. When Mark was going through and picking songs, I'm curious, were there any that you were both surprised by, or why you picked that one, or that you'd forgotten and went, oh my gosh, we were really on point that day.
What were you thinking? Yeah, right. No, interestingly enough, Mark had an idea in his head because we have a lot of disparate songs, as you might imagine, over the years and the things we've done. And Mark sought a way to, string those things together in a way that made sense. And so he began picking things out, and you're right, some of them were surprising, but he began picking them out so that he could hang them on this sort of quasi-narrative he had in his head. Because he doesn't want to it's not going to be the kind of thing, here's a song they wrote for this, and there's no narration in it. But he's got this idea of a through line, an emotional through line, more than like an actual. I mean, like we're not writing a new musical. We're using these existing songs as a review. But that review, he felt, could have a kind of a structure to it. And it's more of an emotional structure than a literal structure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so he has 4 performers, two of whom are older, two of whom are younger. Man, woman, man, woman. And he came up with this kind of idea of how those people would interact. And then he also was impressed by the fact that Marty's and my music sort of covers all kinds of geographical areas. And that's when he came up with the concept of, okay, well, we put this under the rubric of wandering heart, which at first threw me. I thought, well, okay. And then he said, well, we need to write a theme, or we need to write a song that basically ties all that together. That's called Wandering Heart. And at first I was like, okay, Wandering Heart, lyric. And but then, I started thinking about it, and he also didn't want it to be a ballad. He wanted to be kind of up and fun to tie this whole thing together. Because Marty and I write a lot of ballads, and he's picking out things to have a kind of more of a dynamic to it. So we did. We wrote a thing called Beat of Your Wandering Heart. And it's kind of a reggae thing, and it's kind of fun. So that kind of ties the whole thing together in that way. And then there's another song called Welcome Home. Basically, he sees these four people kind of straying from each other and all over the place and all over the world, and then coming back together. And that's both they come back together both emotionally and geographically. And so that the emotions take them to different places. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah, I think that's about right. I think that initially he was taken by the fact that our musicals, in particular, and some of our television work was done in geographical, as Joel said, locations like Venice and Versailles and the Wild West for Johnny Guitar, and so that triggered the idea of wandering to him, and then he suddenly realized, well, we could make it an emotional wandering as well, and that's how he got his theme, as Joel said, put in. And that changed some of the songs that he originally picked, actually. He had chosen some songs and they don't work in this theme that he had. So they were jettisoned. And then also, I think when he cast it, in particular, not the older two, because we know them, but he found two really great young performers in James and in Casey Borghesi. And that sort of opened up ideas. Oh, they'd be great singing this particular song. So that worked its way back into the fold, and currently the order of songs we're doing at the moment.
In terms of songs you've written, jingles, TV themes, ballads, I know that there's always I'm sure, a way that the song ought to be recorded in your head, or that sounds like where you imagine the finished product is going. But when it comes to live theater and having a new singer sing something, is there have you ever had a best moment of being surprised or hearing something that you didn't think you put in that song that is now there because you heard them pull it out of it? Are there magical things you look for when you see a new singer take on your song?
I would say that we're going to be surprised at some of the things Mark has pulled out, because he hears things in a different way. He's an arranger. And when we accepted doing this, I said to Joe, I've seen Mark's work. Let him run with it, because he has some ideas of his own. And as a composer, you sort of want to hear people ideas of what you wrote and see if they come up with something that you never thought of. When you do it as a project for theater, I think that an actor always brings something new to a song. You want them to. So when you're in rehearsals, it's always cool to see somebody go, well, I was thinking maybe this, and I would say 75% of the time they add something to the song. Sometimes you go, no, I don't want to go that direction, and you have the right to do that in a theater piece, and as the director will say no, no. But in a case of a performance, yes. So I expect to see some, particularly in this show, some very different interps of our music. Joel?
Yeah, and I think that that's part of the joy of writing music is that especially for the theater and in a cabaret venue like this is the opportunity to provide other voices to this song. I mean, that's the reason there's cover. Obviously, that's the reason there's covers of all kinds of songs, different ways. Whitney Houston doing Dolly Parton's song is a lot different than Dolly doing it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's equally as valid and equally as wonderful. So I think that's true. I mean, there could be times when you go, yeah, I don't know, I don't see it that way, I suppose. But on the other hand, for the most part, when you're dealing with really talented people who are basically there because this is what they know how to do, and they're professionals, they're going to give you something that you didn't expect, and that is a joy. That's just whoa! I didn't know I wrote that. You know, that's a lot better than I thought it was.
Well, I think it's the same going into studio when we first started out and working with the finest musicians in New York and LA, and you'd go in with pretty much a very loose chart, and you'd have people like David Spinoza on guitar or Steve Gadd on drums, and they said, "Well, we could do this," and you go, "Do it, do it,"
Do it because it sounds great.
it's brilliant, man. It's making me sound a million times better. And that was one of the pleasures of working all the time.
Or the singers, like
And the
Luther
singers.
Vandross, who came in and you just go, "Yeah, that's the ticket." You
Yeah.
know?
Who before anybody knew who Luther was,
Yeah,
he would
yeah.
come in and sing things, and it was very hard to like produce him because you said, "Well, that sounds pretty perfect to me. Good night."
Right.
He was great. He was good, but
Or we
among
did a
others.
we did a theme song with Edie Gourmet, and Steve Lawrence was in the booth with me while we're listening to her sing the first take. She got done, and he turned to me and said, "Well, what do you think? What should we tell her?" I said, "Tell her it was amazing. I have nothing to say." And then he went, "Oh, okay, but," and then he went on the thing and said, "Edie, give us one more." But I was just so blown away because of the professionalism of these people. It's wonderful.
I, uh, I always love talking to folks who've really made a lifelong career of being in entertainment or theater in any aspect, because the actual job that draws the paycheck is almost never the I'm going to be a star thing that you might think going in high school theater. I'm continually surprised by what the actual day-to-day career jobs are. I've talked to folks who had no idea that there was interstitial music, and now that's their whole composing career, and things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, when you two were first writing together and first getting together, what did you think a long-term career would look like versus how it's actually unfolded?
Mart, Mart,
Joel?
Joel, Mart. Uh, well, I'll tell you, first of all, I was an actor, and so I was an actor and a folk singer and, kind of a singer-songwriter on the guitar and stuff. But that's what I actually started out doing, but that became kind of a background thing for me as I was acting. And then Marty and I actually met how many years ago, Mart?
Oh my God, 1972.
1972. We were both I was acting and Marty was the music director of a cabaret that we were doing in Windsor, Ontario.
Cabaret is in the Candor and Ebb Cabaret.
Yeah, yeah, and we were doing that in Windsor, Ontario, and Marty and I, besides the fact that he was conducting me every night, we all sort of were put up in this strange dormitory thing, and so we were there together, and after the show or before the show, or whatever, we'd have a drink and we'd be talking and doing various things. And Marty was also had a group called the Collector's Item, which was like was that sort of the members of became the chorus to this show. And so he would be rehearsing it, and I'd listen to it. I'd say, "That's great, man. That's great what you did there." And then he'd discover me playing the guitar and singing some song I had written, and I don't know. We just began to feel really simpatico about each other's music, you know. Right, Mart? Am I right? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
no, that's where it began. But as you said, you really had an acting career, and I was trying to figure out a way to make a substantial living as a writer producer. So we were in two different directions. We had tossed the idea at some point. You said, "Why don't we look at a musical together?" And you were frustrated with one of your projects, and you gave me the script on that and the lyrics, and I fooled around with that for about half a year, and we decided it wasn't going anywhere. And then before I don't remember the exact order of things, but somewhere around the late not 70s, um, early 80s, I had decided that the best way to break into what I wanted to do was to just start a company of my own and offer, music for commercials, for television themes. We were already arranging jobs on Broadway shows. So, but I thought we needed a third partner. I thought Joel would be a perfect guy to come in when he could, leave his acting temporarily and write some lyrics if we needed them. And Joel said, sure. And that led to finding a musical to write together because we found we worked so well together. He was able to go away with some ideas I would give him musically, come back with a lyric, and vice versa. So we both love theater, and that's really what we wanted to do if we could. So that was when we first came up with the idea of buying a property and writing a musical to it.
And I
That
always
was,
enjoyed, even though I was acting fairly successfully at the time, um, it really wasn't enough for me as a creative outlet. I sort of tired of interpreting other people's stuff, other writers all the time. And it was kind of interesting to me. And it's one of the reasons I had kept writing on the guitar and stuff was that I had to have this outlet for my own creations, you know. And when Marty and I got together, it was like the perfect combination of being able to do that because I don't think in the however, 50 years or whatever we've been together here or, or been working together, I've never done anything that I didn't enjoy, that I enjoyed more than Marty and I sitting in a room together with a piano and figuring out what to do. It's just such a thoroughly, well, partly because, we've we're best friends and became over the years best friends. I don't think, Mark, we've ever had an argument of any kind.
especially
And
not over music. Yeah.
no, not over music, but our sensibilities just seem to align. And the things I wanted to say and the things he wanted to uh, interpret musically of those things just always came together and was always a joy, whether or not it actually came to fruition in some big commercial way or not. The process was so thoroughly enjoyable
You know,
that
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we did it just one thing led to another. Like Joe was doing his acting career, so he'd suddenly have a gig on Merv Griffin at the time or Johnny, and he'd say, geez, I want an arrangement for this song. So whatever I was doing, we'd stop and we'd do that. And he said, can you come out and conduct it or play it for me? So I flew out to LA. So with all these mixtures happening all the time, and I would say, Joel, I need you to sing this piece for I don't know, something on TV or some commercial and say, okay, I'll fly back and do it. In those days you had to. We didn't have the convenience of being able to record in one place and send it over. But so no matter what it was, as you stated earlier, um, music, whatever form we were doing it, we never looked at it as an end game. We just kept doing it.
Yeah.
in one form or another. And as Joel said, there was such enjoyment in doing it, in making it, and creating it, and getting it out there, of hearing it on the radio, hearing it on TV, and that was the joy we would look for. And
Or more importantly, see it on the stage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that
That's the
was
real joy, you know.
so. As far as looking down the line, the line just happened. I think. I think we look back on it now more than we ever looked ahead, and thought it would end up 50 years later that we're still doing something here in New York City, like this project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joel, I'd seen an interview with you years ago where you uh, were talking about your next project being finishing a musical that you'd been wanting to write. Have you two ever run into just a hardest project? I still feel like when you write, you're setting up problems and solving them, and regardless of how hard the problem is, the process is fun. Uh, and I would imagine songwriting is kind of the same way. But I would imagine that has there ever been a book or something that you bit off and went, I thought we had the through line on that, and just beat your head against it for a while?
Mhm.
That's interesting. I don't think, well, we certainly have, whether it be a theme song or whatever that's been rejected, along with the ones hopefully that got accepted. So yeah, and you just go, well, wait a minute, I thought I really had a handle on that, and I guess I didn't. But
But
when it comes to
theatrically, go ahead.
theatrically, theatrically, I don't think we've ever had that problem. Do you,
Well,
Mark?
one problem, whenever we've had source material, think about this, Joe. When we've had source
Hmm.
material, such as Fields, such as Johnny Guitar, um, and even Casanova, uh, yeah, there's problems. Yes, you work it out. When we did a musical that was really still viable musical called The Countess of Storyville, it was we were commissioned to write it, and we were commissioned with an Emmy Award winning scriptwriter from LA who was put together by the person that commissioned the whole work and wanted an original work. So she came up with this idea because she was originally from New Orleans, and she dated it back into the early 1800s and the red light district there. A little bit like Hadestown, I guess, when you come to think of it, but this was before that. And when you're working with a project that doesn't have some sort of map, you can get into a corner
Source
and go,
material.
where do
Yeah.
we go now? What happens now? And what happened in that particular case, we switched writers three times because the original author passed away. We had to find a second one and then a third one, and it just got bogged down. And that is the one example I can think of, Les, there, where we were stuck going, I don't know. Joel even said, I don't know where to go. And we had producers on the thing, and we actually did a production down at University of Alabama that was almost there. But I think it needs writing help, and neither one of us has been able to really solve the problem ourselves.
Well, and uh, boy, I had something really insightful to say there, but I was listening too much to Marty. But yeah, in particular that, and it's usually, when Marty and I are together working, that's a lot of fun. Sometimes when it was very, 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 very frustrating to do that particular project
Yeah.
because of the fact that it was being imposed on us. And even if I could see a path, I wasn't the guy doing the path.
Right.
And that became it became very contentious and very frustrating. So yes, that does happen, and it makes it not fun when you're doing that. But for the most part, and the end result, as far as the score is concerned, I think both of us still love it. It was a wonderful, wonderful score that, we'd still like to see get done one of these days.
There'll be some of that in this coming project too.
Oh, there is a couple of songs from
Yeah,
that in the
absolutely.
project. Yeah.
Several actually. It's we like that score. On the other hand, when we are working on things and you hit a spot, I lived in LA for quite a while, and down the street from Joel in some sense, and we would be stuck, and we'd finish working, and there'd be a problem, and he said, "Well, let me cogitate," is his favorite word. Let me cogitate on this, and I'd go home, and I'd be stuck with music that needed some way to get through it, and nothing would happen for 2 weeks, and then I'd get a call saying, "What are you doing? Come on over, come on over." I said, "Why?" I just want to show you something. And he'd be all like a kid with a new toy going, "Look at this." And he'd show me, he goes, "That work?" And I go, "Wow, that's great." And let me figure it out. And then we'd all jump back into the pool with enthusiasm. And I would say 90% of the time you would find something. And it was always that aha moment that you talk about. They go, "You got it, you fixed it. That's great. How'd you think of that?" Etc.
I just break my brain for about 2 weeks. But my favorite moment of that, by the way, was we were at one of those impasses, and we were very near the end of the show, or what the first iteration that we were going to write. And I called up Marty, and I said, "I don't know, man. Come on over. I'm really stuck from where to go from here." Remember this, Mark?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, and he said, "What do you mean? You're really stuck?" I said, I just don't know where to go from here." And he said, "Well, I'll be right over, and we can brainstorm it." Okay. So over he came, sat down at the piano, and I said, and I put the script in front of him, and I turned the page, and I said, "I don't know where to go from here." And the word on the page was "fini." And he said, "You son of a..." I had given him a heart attack, but I had finished the whole thing. Yeah.
That's great.
So that was time for, what was that, Mark? Probably scotch and cigars that day.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the new show, Beat of a Wandering Heart, is going to run 5 performances, I believe.
Yep.
Starting on November 11th. We're going to have the ticket link in the description below. I think that's going to be a really fun night. I think folks are going to really enjoy it. And like you said, you've got 2 singers that might be new to folks that they can go check out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's James and Casey.
Yep.
Thank you so much for making time to talk to me about it today. Joel, loved watching you on Silver Spoons when I was a kid. And
oh, good.
just great hearing y'all's music over the years. Really think folks are going to have a blast. Thank you again.
Thanks,
we'll see you there. Hopefully we'll see you there, Les. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.